I'm going to show you how to develop your own black and white film at home using a few simple bits of equipment and chemicals you can buy from any photographic supply store, either in a real shop or online. Very simple process, and I recommend everyone does it, so this is a quick demonstration to show you how easy it is. Okay, so this is the equipment you'll need if you're going to be developing film at home. First of all, this big black thing on the table here is a changing bag. You use this to get the film onto the developing reels that you're going to be using, and this is completely light tight, so that you can stick your arms in one end, the film goes in the slot at the other, and you can put the film onto the reels. Now, these are the reels. I've got a 35mm and a 120 one set up there. They're actually exactly the same, but you can extend one of these reels to do either 35mm or 120 film. You'll be putting those reels into one of these, which is a developing tank. This is what you actually do your developing in. It's a light tight tank. When the reel's in there and the lid's on, well, in fact before the lid's on, there's a funnel mechanism in there, and that's completely light tight, so you can use it in a room like this. The developing tank goes into your changing bag with the reels and everything else. I've got a smaller one. This is AP tank, and this is a universal size, so this does either one 120 film or it does two 35mm films. I've also got a Paterson multi-reel 5. This will do 5 reels of 35mm or 3 of 120. Over here, these are some just jugs that I use, measuring jugs. These I mainly use for washing the film, so I have it all full up with the water at the right temperature. I don't have the luxury of a mixer tap which I can use to wash the film with, so I fill several of these up. I've also got a funnel so that if you're pouring chemicals back into containers afterwards you don't spill too much. A range of measuring cylinders. It's nice to have a few of these for when you're mixing your chemicals. The smallest one I've got here is a 50mm, the largest one goes up to a litre, so it's good to have a range of these. Safety wise, you might want some safety glasses and some gloves if you're handling chemicals. And then here I've got some film clips attached to a coat hanger that I use for hanging the film to dry, and I just attach that to some bulldog clips, or a slightly bodged version which is a smaller bulldog clip with a spoon hanging from it. Over here, if you can see it, I've got my phone which has got a darkroom timer app, really useful app that I've got there. That will help you time your development, and is a pretty much invaluable tool. You can obviously just use a normal clock or a kind of cookery timer, but it's really nice to have the timer app because you can set specific times, tell you when to agitate and the rest of it. Oh, I almost forgot actually, this is crucial. This is a thermometer, spirit thermometer I use. You can get digital ones as well which are perhaps more accurate, but this is fine for black and white, and actually I use it for colour development as well. You need to measure the temperature of your developing chemicals and water and stuff like that, so thermometer is absolutely crucial. Okay, so in terms of chemicals that you'll need for developing film, actually the first thing you'll need is the film itself. So here I've got a roll of HP5 Plus from Ilford, which is black and white film, traditional silver film, and this is what I'm going to be developing today. This is a medium format 120 size film. I'm using HC110 developer from Kodak, and this is a nice all-round developer, reasonably fine grain, and it's a liquid concentrate developer. You also get powders, but liquid concentrate keeps for a long time, and you can use small quantities and make up as you wish for a one-shot development. Next thing you use in the process is stop bath. You probably can't see this very well, but this is a stop bath that I made out of just plain old white vinegar and water. It's about 1 part vinegar to 3 parts water. The next thing is some Ilford Rapid Fix. Fixes the silver that remains in the film after the development, and takes that away from the film, so you actually get your negative image. And obviously I mixed this up into a working solution. And then the final chemical that you use is some kind of wetting agent. This is Kodak PhotoFlow. This just means that the water leaves the film quicker and the film dries hopefully without streaks and watermarks. Very important if, like me, you live in a very hard water area. Okay, so I've got my tank here, various bits of it, including the reel and the film. And I've got a dark bag here. I'm not going to go into great detail about how to load the film reel inside the changing bag, because actually there's a lot of good tutorials out there on YouTube which I'll probably see. Okay, so in here now is my film on the reel inside the development tank, done on the stuff inside the changing bag. As you can see, this is the funnel in the top of the developing tank where you pour your chemicals. This is all completely light side down. Now that the film is in the tank, it's worth mentioning a few things. With black and white film development, you have a combination of the film that you're using and the developer, which produces different results. So for certain films, different developers will work differently. You can extend the times or shorten the times to push process or pull process. You can use different developers to get either a very fine grain or increase the speed. And this really alters the result that you get at the end. Today I'm using Ilford HP5 Plus as the film that I'm using, and Kodak HC110. HC110, as I mentioned earlier, is a fine grain developer in liquid concentrate form. HP5 is a 400 speed film. When I'm developing these, what I'll do is I'll look up on online. There's a website called Massive Dev Chart, and that gives you times for all the different films that are pretty much out there, and different types of developers, the combinations between those, and that's a kind of really nice database that will give you all the times that you'll need for developing your film. Okay, so we're ready to go now. I've got my film in the tank. I've got my ready mix developer. This is the precise amount of water which will fill the tank, which for one roll of 120 film is about 600 millilitres of water, plus the developer. I've got a couple of jugs of water here at the right temperature as well, which are for washing the film. And I've got my final rinse here, which has got the Kodak photo flow in, which will help the film dry properly and avoid watermarks. Got my funnel here as well, so that when I want to pour the stock and the fix back into their bottles, that's okay. And I've got my foam with the dark print time wrap on it. So we're basically ready to go, and the first step is to hit start and to pour the developers quickly, but hopefully avoiding spilling anything into the jug. So that's all in there. Lid on, and then this is what's known as agitation, and I'm going to agitate for 30 seconds initially. This 30-second period of agitation initially. After that, we're going to agitate for 10 seconds every minute. So after this first period of agitation is up, which is just coming to an end now, we bang the developing tank on the thing. That dislodges any bubbles that may have formed against the film, makes them rise to the surface so you don't get any marks on the film. Now we wait, and it's a little bit off at the moment because I've been doing a 30-second time, but we're just going to wait for a second. In a minute, or a few seconds, we will be agitating again. The agitation just brings fresh developer in contact with the film, and means that as it goes on over the 10-minute period that we're developing this film for, there's fresh developer in contact with the film. Agitation actually plays quite a crucial role in the film development. If you agitate too much, you get large grain, excessive grain in the film. So there's a balance to strike between the amount of agitation that you do and the amount of time that you leave the film for. Some films recommend that you, some chemicals and films recommend that you agitate every 30 seconds. Other chemicals recommend that you agitate every minute. With this combination, I'm agitating every minute. So it's going to agitate again in a second. Okay. So do another 10-second agitation. carry on for this for about the next 7 minutes, so I'm sure you don't need to see all of this, but you get the idea of what's going on. One thing that I haven't mentioned so far is the temperature. I said that the thermometer was important, and what I did before this was I got all the chemicals, the water, the stop, fix, everything to the same temperature, roughly 20 degrees. For the developer, I was quite precise about that and made sure that's definitely 20 degrees because development is the most critical point, or critical process, and that depends on the actual temperature of the developer, how quickly the developing action takes place. So for that, I made absolutely sure that we were at 20 degrees. The other chemicals in the wash are have a little bit more leeway because they're basically just doing processes which can compete. And whereas developer, if you've got it too hot, you'll overdevelop. If you've got it too cold, it won't develop enough. So that's quite important to make sure you're developing at the right temperature. Okay, so as we're coming towards the end of the development period, we've got another agitation or two to do before we go. Just to mention that the developer I'm using, HE110, I'm using as a one-shot developer. So it uses this one time, and then it's going to go down the sink. There are other developers that you can use that you can either reuse multiple times, or ones that you reuse and then you have a little bit more fresh developer which replenishes them. But HE110 you tend to use just as a one-shot developer. Got another minute to go before the end of this development. So over here we've got my stop and my fix lined up. The next process that we're going to do is the stop bars. Stop bars stop the development. The developer itself is an alkali chemical, whereas stop bars is an acid. It's weak, watered down vinegar. You can buy proper stop bars, which is essentially watered down vinegar or something else, but they tend to go a certain colour when they're exhausted. But quite frankly, I see no reason not to use just cheap vinegar that you get from the supermarket. So we've got 30 seconds left. Almost done. As we get to the end, just going to take the lid off so that we're ready to go. And with about 10 seconds left to go, we just start pouring out the developer. Time is up for development stage, and we can start the stop bar. So that just goes in. Okay, the stop bar just stops the developer working. Only needs about 30 seconds or so in there to stop the developer working. And get our funnel ready so that we can start to pour it back out again. Pour out the stop bar. Back into the bottle. Okay. Next stage is a fixer, and it takes 4 minutes in this case. So let's start. Pour that in. As hopefully you know, if you're considering developing your own film, traditional black and white film is based on silver, and the silver which has been exposed to light during development is now developed into an image, but there's silver left in the film, which the stuff which hasn't been exposed to light. And if you leave that on there, when you open it up to the light, that will start to develop into an image as well. So what you need to do is, as a fixer, and the fixer takes away the undeveloped silver, so that you're left with a negative image. It's a vital step in the process, but again, it follows a similar kind of process to the developer stage, where you're adding the fixer and then agitating every 30 seconds or minute or so. Unlike the developer, it's slightly less time critical and temperature critical, because the fix will go on until all the silver has been taken out of the film, at which point there's nothing left for the fixer to actually do. So you probably don't want to overfix for too long. We'll come back to this in a minute. Okay, so we're almost at the end of the fixing stage as well. And we've got our funnel ready. We're almost ready to go. Got another 30 seconds left. One more agitation. Now, let's just wait till the time's up, and then we can pour the fixer out. After that, we've got the wash stage, which just cleans all these chemicals off the film, gives you something that you can actually work with at the end. Okay, so let's pour the fixer out. Most film developers will tell you to put it under a running tap for 3 minutes. I've unfortunately got 2 taps. I don't have a mixer tap which can keep water at the same temperature, so I use what's called the Ilford wash method. It's a slightly adapted version of that. The standard Ilford wash method says you do you fill up the tanks with water, do 5 inversions, pour it out, do 10 inversions, pour it out, and then do 20 inversions, pour it out. What I tend to do is do one initial quick rinse, and that's going to get rid of a lot of stuff quite quickly. So, okay, that just gets rid of some initial stuff. Now, I'll fill up the tank again. And do 10 inversions. Pour that out, and then I'll follow that with 20 and 30 inversions. I don't know why I extend it, because apparently the Ilford wash method is perfectly usable, and there's no reason to doubt that it is. But for safety's sake, I like to be a little bit cautious, and I do a few extra rounds of washing. Okay, so we're pretty much there now. Almost at the end of the 30 inversions that I do for the final cycle of the washing sequence. Once that's done, we can open the lid and see what we've got going on inside. Exciting time. Okay, that's that done. Pour out the final wash. Now we get to unscrew the lid. On here, there's our film, and I can see some images on there, which is good. That's reassuring to know. Final stage is called the final rinse, and as I said, this is using water and a wetting agent. I use Kodak Focus Flow. This is basically just like normal washing up liquid, possibly slightly different, and all it does is it just allows the water to run off the film quicker, and allows drying to take place with less drying marks and water marks. So I just pour this on. I tend to do this with the lid off. So that just sits in there for about 30 seconds or so. You don't want to leave it for too long. Move the film about a little bit. Just get it nicely coated in it. Now this next bit is slightly controversial. Some people just tell you to hang the film out to dry. Personally, I get my fingers wet in the film, in the photo flow. Take the film off the reel. Fingers in the water. And I just rub them once down the film, maybe 2 or 3 times, just so that it brings a little bit of the water off beforehand. So I don't know whether you can see that, probably not, but there are some images on there. One's very missing, I should have wound on too quickly there. So that's definitely some developed film. So I'll hang that out to dry, and we'll see what we've got in a few hours' time. Okay, well the film is still drying, but hopefully you can see that there are some usable images on there. We'll come back and look at these and scan some of them later. I hope this film has been useful. Please put any comments you want below, and I can only say that you should all start developing your film soon.